Books about personal transformation often use the metaphor of a phoenix rising from the ashes to describe the journey. For those of you unfamiliar with this metaphor, it implies that out of the fires of misfortune, a new and better self emerges. While I find this interesting, I more like to liken my own personal journey to an old fable that I've heard through my years of Buddhist practice. In this fable, the Buddha meets a young man who is going around begging for food. When the beggar is not looking, the Buddha sews a precious jewel into his robe. The beggar goes on with his life begging. When the beggar sees the Buddha again, he is an old man. The Buddha is surprised to find him still begging and his robe still tattered. The beggar had spent his lifetime looking outside of himself to survive. When he had all the riches of the world in his possession already, he just didn't realize it. For as long as I can remember, I struggled to find my own inner riches externally, while putting a great deal of pressure on myself. On my 10th birthday, which I had labeled the Big 1-0, I told my father that I was excited to get older because it meant that I would be closer to being perfect, because adults are perfect. Yikes! Growing up, I was plagued by low self-esteem and little belief that I could do well in life. I didn't believe in my internal strength, and I certainly didn't believe in the divinity that lies within me. It was a difficult struggle as I tried to overcompensate in many ways, not the least of which was my perfectionism. True to perfectionistic form, when I was first diagnosed with bipolar disorder in 1996, I was ready to devote my whole self to finding a cure. I remember telling my friends in my dorm at Emory that I was going to leave school to tour around with my parents and find the most effective, perfect treatment for what was ailing me. My parents had a different plan, to get me stable and get me back to school as soon as possible. Neither plan seemed to be effective, and as I will detail shortly, I was soon thrust into a complicated web of mental health treatment that ultimately went nowhere fast. This book is the culmination of the knowledge that I've amassed in 2+ decades since my diagnosis and my subsequent recovery. It contains a powerful roadmap to help you discover your inner riches, the very ones that you need to overcome a behavioral health struggle. I want it to be the book that I needed back then, one that not only tells my story but helps you to understand what recovery from mental illness can look like and how to get there. If you apply the lessons that I offer, you can learn how not only to overcome a mental health challenge, but to have a jumping-off point through which you can grow spiritually.